Niaje wase, karibuni sana Automobile Cafe, and today we're just doing a quick one, but which will be very informative. First of all, before we head to the quick one, let me speak about the Swift update. So basically, currently the Swift project is paused. Not really paused, but it's happening behind the scenes. Nile too, I just want to share all the clips once I'm done with the project. And this will aid us to just get a full story without getting any interference in between the build. So basically, Leo, I want to speak about one very important car. I'm a very basic vehicle that can aid you cut costs and basically give you an opportunity to survive the harsh economy, which is in that category. However, this unit comes from a Nissan, and it is actually a Nissan March K12. Nissan March K12 is quite the midst between the old and the new generation. And the good thing about it, this vehicle is usually a 4-cylinder vehicle, comes with a 1300cc engine, which is quite powerful for its stature and its uniqueness in terms of size, power to weight ratio, among many others. However, most of you tend to look at this vehicle as an ugly unit, but when you look at it from a practical perspective, for someone who wants to cut costs and basically have a unit to do local runnings, this works perfectly and is actually one of the best units to buy. Yes, I know, some of you will say it kind of looks like a frog. There are those who would say it looks like a hippo, but again, this unit is quite interesting compared to its counterpart, very cheap and very reliable. So let me go to Facebook Marketplace and do a one-on-one review based on pricing. For example, let me do a quick search here. I'll share it here with you so that you can see the review that I'm trying to do and the quick search I'm trying to do. So let me do a Nissan March K12. When I look at what I have here, as you can see, I can find units from 320. Let me check this one. You see, this is actually quite okay. For the price, you can actually negotiate low. I'm gonna reduce the pricing based on what you want to offer. And again, as I usually say, what they put as the price is always the asking price. You have the liberty to make it better in terms of to either reduce the price by bargaining, among others. So I see here there's a Nissan March going for 370,000. Quite unique, quite clean, you know. Sijui kwa nini hajaweka interior. There is a Nissan, another March 495. Wow, this is quite expensive. There's a reason maybe they're doing this. A CF, sorry. Which year is this? Probably, let me see if they price the year. No, they've not put the year. But that is quite pricey. But again, you can find out the reason why. There's one, this INI deposit. I've seen this before. Walikuwa wanaongelea deposit, but they're asking for 350k. 350k, if you look at it, this is quite a thing. If you ask me, it's quite a thing. Though subject to confirmation when you go to the ground and maybe with your technician, get to check and see if it's as good as it looks on the photos. But basically, from this small research we've done, we've noticed majority of them, there is one for 290. Majority of these cars usually go from 250 to around 400, 500, to just mention a good price basically. But when you look at these vehicles, majority of them utazipata around 300 hapo, 350 there. So what I want to do is look at a comparison of the same unit na gari rika yake. Let's talk about maybe the Swift, for example. Swift, let's do a Swift. Swift unaona iko na 490 hapa, and this is ya mwaka gani hii? Which is this? Which is the 2013. Quite cheap for the age as well, but probably must have been an Uber ama ex-Uber vehicle, but that doesn't matter per se. In year 207, in year 205 actually. 395 must be an ex-Uber as well probably. Kuna 550 hapa 2011. but generally majority of these would be a bit more expensive compared to what the March K12 is being sold for in the market. And these are the same vehicles. Category ni moja to 1300cc. Majority of the time four chambers, sometimes 3 chambers. These are only going for 750. You know, prices can vary. So kwa Toyota rika yake ni kama gani? Let's look at Toyota Vitz. Let's do the Vitz comparison. Vitz comparison, this is quite older, going for 270. We will not go to that. Let's just try to look for something modern. 430. This is which year? Ajaandika mwaka. But basically 430. Look at the state for 430 vehicle compared to what a Nissan of the same equivalent for 450, 430, sorry, an equivalent you can get if you go for the March. Probably the March would come with a cleaner unit. This is 510. Let's just go diving deep. From the bonnet you can see kidogo hapa tricks kiasi. They've already done the seats. Not a bad one per se, but when you look at it, I'm sure with the same amount you can get a better March na ubaki na do yako pale ya kufanya some other investments. If you decide to go to basically you see 980 for the newer ones like this KDL, quite pricey. But again, for a Vitz of the same K12 stature, basically with the same production, inakuja a bit higher than what we have here. So let's just do this. To cut the long story short, let me do a basic review or an in-depth review of the K13, and you can check it out yourself and maybe make a decision based on what you'd want. But on my own, or basically from my point of view, if you have a budget of between 400 or between 300 and 400 and or slightly above 250 and 300, or basically 250 to 400, then for sure you have a car with you that can be very reliable and very, very, very accurate when it comes to the amount of money you spend to it vis-a-vis the competition around that class, which is the Vitz and the Swift. I'd recommend for you to think about the March. One, it does not come with the CVT gearbox, so the gearbox yake ni ile automatic gearbox ya kawaida. What you just need to do is just some basic checkup, maybe weka nini pale and see what codes or errors it might bring. If it does not have any, take that car immediately. And again, it can be pimped as well, but that one we'll talk about it later. So let's do an in-depth review based on this clip that I did in the field. I'm here with a Nissan K12, not 13. But this K13 is actually March, which is known as the March in other markets, but again in other markets it's also called the Micra. If you're not new to this channel, we've had a Micra before. We've had a March which we did a project on, and in a way I recommended it to be one of the best Nissans that someone can buy on a low budget. But again, today I'm having another March which is slightly above the budget of what we had last time, but again still falls within the category of economical cars that are reliable and will not disturb you, or basically not give you drama despite being Nissan. I'm sure people usually fear Nissan when it comes to its notorious CVT gearbox, but again not all Nissans had a CVT gearbox, and some Nissans are actually very, very good and very economical when it comes to issues consumption and also maintenance overall. So basically, if you cannot afford a Toyota for these small units, I'd recommend this Nissan March. It's not one of the beautiful ones in the market. The people who usually look at it from a beauty perspective and say the beauty does not really deserve all that. But again, when you look at this vehicle in terms of practicability, gari iko sawa. So basically, this car can actually give you around 17 to 20 kilometers per liter, sometimes even 22 if well driven. And the styling is not the best you can have in the market, but look at it. It's a very small, tiny, compact vehicle that will deliver what you want. If you want to use it to run up and apale in town, this is the best car to have. Basically, if you're also doing some up-country travels na uko peke yako, this unit will come in handy, considering it's not so big and it's not so small. So for those who have tiny families, or basically a family unit of maybe one partner and a single child, this can still work in very, very well, considering the space is not very kidogo. As you can see, I'm seated on one side. It's quite bigger than the other March that I've had in the show before. And remember the other March we used to have, I could hold this side of the vehicle without any struggle, but you see on this time round there's a stretch of my hand. That means this is a bit wider than the K11 that we had previously in the show. Again, the clock of this unit goes to 180 kilometers, that's top speed, and basically just practical like any other car. Comes with an older key, but that doesn't change much. So let's switch it on and see. You see, it is quite updated, has all indicators, or basically all lights that maybe will aid you in terms of safety or guide you in terms of the vehicle maintenance generally. And when you look at it, the fuel efficiency element kidogo is the key factor here, and practicality. The radio ni ile tu basic from this generation. Basically there is nothing much about it, but kind of anti-theft. That means see gari utapark anywhere and someone comes, picks your radio, maybe you know someone comes and steals this radio unit from the vehicle. The AC is quite practical, it's basically around the reach of the driver without lots of drama. Also has a cigarette lighter which can also be used to do some mods in the car, maybe charging and so on and so forth. And when you look at the space huku nyuma, it's not kidogo, it's enough space. Let me just take an opportunity, sit huko nyuma tuone how space yake inakuwa. And you can see I'm not a small person, I'm quite big, and when I get into the vehicle kidogo, there's kind of more than enough space. So huku nyuma kuna kaa hivi. Let me get in it. Always the driver seat itakufinya sometimes, because if the driver is tall then they tend to songesha kiti yao nyuma. But you can see I'm fitting in comfortably at the back. Yes, there's some difficulties for people who are a bit tall like me, but again it's a 1300cc vehicle, probably with one of the cheapest vehicles in the market currently, going for around 300 to 400,000 shillings. If well kept, 500,000 shillings. I don't want to limit cars out there, but basically this unit will give you what you want for just a basic drive, and it will also open doors for you so that you can upgrade pole pole. But look at it from this perspective. If you want a car loan free, then this is one of the units that probably I'd recommend. When you talk of safety belts, the rear has safety belts as well. So the safety measures za gari ziko intact. You see the safety belt for middle person na kuna ingine pale. It's considered to be a 5-seater, yes, but for me I'd recommend this to be a 3-person seater, so that maybe the engine does also not take much when it comes, or basically take a beating when it comes to drivability and sana sana hill climbing hapa na pale. Remember in the previous March that we did a review on, we had an issue wakati ilifika kwa kupanda milima. But again, it was quite older, so you can't compare that with this. And let me talk about storage huku mbele. So there's some glove compartments. This is a fuse compartment. There's a glove compartment here where you can store stuff. There's this space over here with some sweet breakfast hapo. Kuna spaces hapa. And also there's another compartment here where you can store your documents. Again, the car comes with very nice handles. As you're driving, maybe you want to, take a rest, you can put your hand here. There's spaces here. There's audio system speakers on this door, on that door as well. And I think on the rear, yes, and on the rear as well. So it's quite a reliable vehicle, quite practical, and it doesn't take much to own one of these. So let's go to the engine. The reason why I'd heavily push on ownership of this unit to anyone who would want to have a car on a budget, and basically have a very good car on a budget. This is where the stand is located. So you put it where exactly? You put it here. So the reason why I'd still push for ownership of this vehicle when you want to talk matters March, this is the best March ever built, so far so good. Yes, it might not be as pretty, but in terms of specs and stuff, this is the best March ever. So the gearbox is kawaida, automatic gearbox, no CVT, no bullshit. Again, the engine comes with a 4-cylinder engine. The K13 after this one comes with a 3-cylinder engine, which again, if you ask me, it does not take a beating as this engine would. This engine has more power. This engine has better displacement. This engine basically has what we can call best spec for this type of unit. And when you look at it, it's basically one easy, cheap car to maintain, and way powerful, or quite powerful, or good enough for you to consider as a daily drive, or basically a K car in Kenya. So other than that, there's nothing much, but just to do a recommendation. If you're planning to have a small unit within this country called Kenya with these rugged roads, then this is a car to have. I wish maybe if I'll get time, I'll do a drive in it and basically get to understand or basically feel how it drives. But I've driven this vehicle, and I've not owned it, yes, but I've driven it. I've had it for quite some time. It belongs to my neighbor here, Abdi. But it's a unit that one should consider in case you're looking for a smaller unit that can take you from places to places. And again, it does well even up-country drives. But again, being a small unit, then it will consider you need to consider the amount of weight that you're going to carry as you're doing the long distance travel. And also, being a small unit, you need to consider the terrain as well. But again, it is way better, way cheaper than most cars in the market today, and it's a car worth owning. So asanteni sana for your time. Thank you for hanging out with us, and subscribe, like, share, comment. Ciao.